turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. What's on your mind Tuesdays? Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go. Elevate 95.9 FM. Tune in and don't wait. What's on your mind Tuesday? Streaming on WOVU.org. What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. What's on your mind Tuesdays? Call in.
What's going on, everybody? You tuned in to another episode of Strategic Moves. I'm your host, Kenn Dowell, and this is Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell and Dr. Heather E. Burton. Dr. Burton is on her way into the office, and today we got Dr. Burton and Judge Mike Nelson in the house, and we're going to have a good conversation today. Today's conversation is going to change up a little bit. We've been talking about voting and how you can use your vote to empower yourself, empower the community. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what that true power means. And when we say what that true power really means, we talk about the power of our money, the power of what our dollars really mean, and what the power of the dollar means to the community. That's up. You know, at the end of the day, when you really a little bit in it, because there's some myths out there. There's a bunch of people who believe that, you know, Black America and Black folks spend trillions of dollars on all kinds of things every year. And if we use that same buying power, we can do things in our community that can help better our community, and we can do other things that will help us become a better society out here. If we all came together collectively to put all of our money in a pot and went out and start doing stuff. So we're going to talk about that myth, because there's a lot of myths to that, because some people truly believe that, you know, we don't have that. You know, there's a few people wrote books and things of that nature, and we're going to talk about one of them today, that basically talks about the fact that they believe that when you look at the true economics of our community, you know, being that our community is one of the poorest communities, and the fact that we lack in education and a few other things, that is that $1 trillion really $1 trillion? Or is that just money that is get dealt out, or a number that's put out in society by government? And we'll say, and government, in the fact that government needs those type of numbers to help with various different things that they do. You can say business people, because you have people like the Nielsen ratings and other folks out here in the business world who need those numbers to make it seem it represents a certain thing. And those are the people who's saying that. We do know that the black dollar in our community, they says, usually takes about 6 hours before it leaves our community. That means when we spend $1 in our community, it takes about 6 hours before it leaves out our community. Where there's other communities, such as the Jewish community and other areas, Asian community and Hispanic community even, where their dollars stay a lot longer in their community. It recirculates around a few times, being able to go to other businesses and other opportunities within their community to actually spend their dollars within their community to help their community advance. So today we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about that discussion and how that affects our community. If there's something in that people agree or disagree, you have an opportunity to do that, because if you're following me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, what else we on, Latif? We on everything. If you're listening to us on Spotify, if you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, there's no reason for you not to hear us today. We live on everything right about now. Podbean, we on everything. So if you want to listen to us, just tune in and leave a comment. We're working on a situation where we'll be having real live call-ins pretty soon, but you can leave a comment on our stream, and we will go ahead and put your comment up today and make sure people get an opportunity to hear from you and hear what you have to say about that also. Also, I want to put a big shout out about our podcast, Strategic Moves Network. We started out, and we have a Strategic Moves Network where we have a host of programs that are going to be coming out on that show. We have what we would call the I guess a piece of this show, an extension of this show, I would say, that we have on the podcast that you'll be able to catch us and hear us talk about more of the topics we talk about here. Dr. Heather Burton has a show, Sanctified in Stilettos. It's a show that she's going to be talking about women issues and things that are affecting African American and all women on her program, and she's going to be doing that. I'm going to continue with my Strategic Moves podcast. We got Joe Little coming on the program. Also, Joe Little is going to be coming as part of our Strategic Moves Network, and he's going to be doing a show that he's going to be A1 Conversations, where you get a chance to talk to Joe Little, and he's going to be talking to various different people in the music industry, arts, and that kind of thing, and sit down, and they're going to talk about their experiences and things that's happening with that. All of that is going to be on the new Strategic Moves Network. Also, I want to put another quick shout out to an event that we're going to be hosting on December 20th, and we're going to be doing that along with WOVU 95.9 FM. We are all hosting a toy giveaway, and we're going to be doing that up at the Galleria in downtown Cleveland. We have an opportunity to work with the Kasu family in downtown Cleveland, and they are going to work with us to help us work with an organization that's going to be there also. I'm going to get you some more information. I should know the name of this organization off the top of my head. Forgive me, but I'm going to give you the name of the organization we're also working with, along with Toys for Tots, to be able to put together this big Toys for Tots giveaway. We're going to have the opportunity to be able to come in. We have a registration link that you'll be able to go to that registration link if you're interested in being a part of that and getting your kids done. Step in with a vision. All right, so let me get that right. So the person who's helping us, I'm going to get this all right together. So on December 20th from 11 to 4 o'clock, we're going to be at the Galleria downtown at Erie View. That's on 12th and St. Clair. We're working with the organization called Stepping with a Vision. The thing that Stepping with a Vision is really known for in their organization. It's a nonprofit organization for the awareness of lupus. And we're going to be working with them to put together a Toys for Tot giveaway. They've been doing this for a couple of years now, and they're going to partner with the Strategic Moves Network, WOVU, the Kasu family, and we're going to have a big Christmas celebration on December the 20th at the Galleria downtown Cleveland, and we want everybody to be a part of that, and you'll be getting more and more information about that as things go on. So that was some more information. Now, also, if there's anything that you want for us to be able to put out on the air, if there's something you want us to talk about, an event or something that's happening that you think we ought to you want us to get out there, give a shout out to the people about it, all you have to do is give us a call or drop it on the line. You can reach me at info@astrategicmoves.com. There you can go ahead and leave leave your information there, leave your flyer. If you have a flyer, we'll make sure we post your flyer. You can leave your contact information. We'll get right back with you, and we will get a chance to put your information and talk about your event and make sure we get that out on the air. So those are some of the housekeeping events I wanted to talk about. We're going to be doing that event again, December 20th. If you want to be a part of that event, we truly want you to be a part of that event. We need people to come out and help us volunteer. If you want to donate a toy or something for anybody else who wants to be a part of that, by all means, we can use your help with all of those things. And it's all sponsored by Stepping with a Vision, Toys for Tots, Strategic Moves Network, the Kasu family, Galleria, Wake, Hustle, Grind, and Schoolhouse Productions. We all are putting ourselves together to be a part of that, and we're looking for more and more partners as we go. So, as we get ready to do, we get everybody to start coming in there. That was my big long stall, y'all. That was a long stall. I that's the most I done talked at one time before in my life. I was rolling, man. I was getting it in. I got it in. I got them going. They done walked in the door. So what we're going to do is we're going to take us a quick little break. When we come back from this break, we're going to have an opportunity to listen to video that we have that we're going to play, and then we're going to then take that from that video. We're going to talk to our guest who's in the house. We got Judge Nelson. We have Dr. Heather Burton, DJ True, and DJ Unicorn, Liberty Dow, the whole clan. We're all here. Strategic Moves Radio Show. Kenn Dowell, Dr. Heather Burton. We'll be right back.
Cleveland,
So,
this is your show, your topics, what's your up, voice. Cleveland? Join in for What's on Your Mind Tuesday on 95.9 FM Kenn Dowell Radio Show. Call in or comment on social media. Call in, let's make this conversation unforgettable. WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go. What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show for What's on Your Mind Tuesdays. Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go. .5 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go. What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show for What's on Your Mind Tuesdays. Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go. What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. For What's on Your Mind Tuesdays, call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go. What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. For What's on Your Mind Tuesdays, call in, comment, social media, WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back. We are live. We are in effect. We're ready to rock and roll. We got the whole crew in the house today. I was feeling a little lonely. I was up here by myself. It was just me and Unicorn sitting here trying to figure it all out. But we got it all together. We got the whole crew in here today, and we're about to get it up and cracking. But before we get going, DJ Unicorn, you got to tell us, is there anything that we need to know that we need to know?
Hello. How we doing? How we living? How we feeling?
Everybody
What's going on, everybody?
well.
Hey.
Y'all got to see Uni. She in incognito today. Got her glasses on, a hat.
Serious DJ
Looking
Unicorn.
like a straight celebrity.
Bring it, Unicorn. Bring it.
Thank you. So, my people. There has been a string of threethery on Sunday mornings with several cars at Cleveland churches on Sundays. Yeah. And I want us to really understand the state of our communities. When we can't even go praise the Lord in peace and not worry about anything occurring while we are in the sanctuary.
That's a problem.
It's a huge problem. It is a huge problem, and I am a firm believer that we got to get back to the old school ways. And I'm not just talking canning. I'm not just talking house rent parties when your neighbor can afford their rent. I mean, like, actual neighbor community. Like, this is just crazy. That's all I got today. I ain't got too much today.
Well, we're going to give them a little more detail because it was like 3 or 4 churches. And they all got hit at the same time.
Yes.
This was on Sunday?
This was on Sunday.
See, this is what happens when you're not in town.
It all happened at the same time. So it sort of seemed like it was something they all got together and do. They said, we're going to do this.
It seemed coordinated.
And they were big church.
Sure.
So it was Mount Olive, which is Reverend Harris Church. They did. His church got hit. Reverend Colvin's church, Olivet, was another church that was part of it. And I believe it was a couple of more that was in there. But I know it was those two that really came back to me that was part of that whole ring of break-ins. They just basically broke in their cars and everything, and it was kind of strange. And someone said they even shot at a few churches or threw something at their windows or stuff like that. So it was some straight-up violence going on amongst the churches in the neighborhood.
They exchanged fire at Olivet.
Really?
Olivet's security people exchanged fire. Exchanged fire with a couple of these thieves.
Yeah, so it's like crazy.
Yeah, because that's what I'm going to say. I know Olivet got security in the parking lot.
Yes.
You know, it's you talked about getting back to the old ways. You know, one of the old ways was parents in control of their kids.
Yes.
Now, I don't think this is just random kids because, you know, you just talked about it, Ken. This is a coordinated effort with churches in different neighborhoods at the same time.
Exactly.
So we have to stop. I understand the whole issue about juveniles and how their brains are not developed to understand certain things, but they understand what they're doing when they're out there tearing up those cars. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to modify our approach. We need some tough love. We need some of that Joe Clark kind of tough love.
Yeah.
And I don't mean where you just give them a conversation.
I don't know, because when you give out tough love, you get tough sentences these days.
But, you know, I think about just what happened in Chicago. Yeah. You know, you talking about the churches, and we talking about, you know, whether it's young teenagers, but what happened in Chicago with that parent and child being beat up and dragged by a group of kids, and they couldn't be older than middle school.
They were middle schoolers.
Yeah.
They all were middle schoolers.
And that, you know, when you look at that, this tough love, and I also wonder, Judge, you can say, because the what do you call it, the repercussions, and especially when it comes to juveniles and juveniles in your face.
Oh no, I'm thinking. Go ahead, make your point. I'm thinking.
Yeah, when it comes to juveniles and the justice system, and we want, you want to protect kids. You want to protect when they make mistakes. And I think it is that line, but then you have situations like these that are happening. And when you have middle schoolers with the audacity to beat up a mom and drag a mom, that's a problem.
Well, the city stood up for them because they came up to the school on that one for sure.
Yeah, but even before standing up to get there.
Or the audacity to do it.
Yeah, the city shouldn't even have to come out because that should have never happened.
Just the state of youth in general, having these mindsets and being capable of doing. I'm 36. I don't even cuss in front of my mama, let alone pulling up on somebody that I got beef or static or is an op or however you want to word it and beating up their mama. What? I just can't fathom this. I cannot fathom it. And these kids are just very much so not subscribing to the notion that just because you are older than me, you automatically receive respect. And that's how I was raised. It doesn't matter what you say to me. If you're older, you get that respect, period. I will walk away from you before I disrespect you. I will. But these kids don't take that.
No, I've heard many students say, if they don't respect me, I'm not respecting them. And that wasn't the mentality we had. If they were an adult, you respected them. You might have, you shut down, you might whatever, but you're going to go home and tell your parents, but then your parents not going to come to the school and act no fool either. So I think that's also a difference is they think that everybody they deserve respect from everybody. First off, I'm like, you ain't lived long enough to get a certain level of respect. You ain't got nothing under your belt.
Like lessons, you just don't. You're right.
Doc, you write books that deal with difficult situations, and you write those books. And when you're writing, I can imagine how you're taking the facts and your theories and you putting them together. And there's nobody in that room that is influencing what you're doing. You're doing it based on what your experiences are telling you. And see, when we deal with juveniles, we have everybody in the mix contributing and talking about, well, this is what you got to do and that's what you got to do. Well, the product that has resulted from these conflicting thoughts and theories is we have some children who are running amok, who are endangering other children.
Yeah.
And when they start shooting and killing, a bullet, when it hits a person, no matter how old they are, it tears up some stuff. And maybe we ought to start pulling out some coroner's reports and some autopsies and taking them to the next funeral or the next meeting, the next community meeting where we talk about, the kids, they just kids. Let's take the coroner's report and the autopsy of the kid that those kids have killed. And let the autopsy speak to the crowd.
I don't think they care.
Now, my point is that we got to start dealing with this hardcore problem. Now, I understand and I respect the fact that, where the influences that these kids are under now. And I understand I don't understand it, but I see how parents, young parents who didn't get parenting are now unable to parent the kids they're having. And you talked about the school situation. When a parent comes up to school and asks for food, that's a parent who has not been parented. Because, and I hate to use when we were young, but we'd have got knocked through the door by our parents. I remember my father came up to school. I went to Raymond Academy, and I showed out, and he took the paddle out and told the custodian, "Excuse me, I need your spot for a minute." And told my little behind up in the custodian's office. And everybody was listening, whole school. When I came out, I said, everybody was standing to my, And that's the kind of, we don't have those kind of parents on a large scale anymore.
No, like you say, they don't know how to parent. And that's part of our discussion today.
Now, what I just said is that's an excuse. Somebody going to say, well, you're right. That's a good excuse. No, it's not. I'm not offering as an excuse. I'm offering as a fact.
It is a fact of our community.
Yeah, and it's also a fact that we don't have a communal baseline
there
anymore.
It is.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly it.
We kind of lost it. We kind of lost it. And it happens in a lot of generations. And at some point in our generation, I'm going to blame it on crack cocaine.
Crack.
I'm going to blame it on crack cocaine because crack cocaine is the single one thing that we can honestly say that devastated our community to a point that it has been hard for the black community to recover from, because there were so many good people who fell victims, whether it was drug selling or using during that process, that now is a result of the parenting that you talk about are some of those crack babies. Some of them are the results of being raised by crack mamas and crack daddies. Some of them are a result of being raised by their grandparents who could barely raise them and themselves. Some of them are products of being raised by the system, who didn't just out there and they kind of made it through. And so with that, that's what our black community is faced with in our community. And now we have a generation of the YNs that are very, 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 very different group.
So,
a very different group.
Judge, when it comes to reform, when it comes to reform, yes, I was right. Okay, when it comes to reform, when it comes to these children that are committing these crimes against not only other children but adults and just the community in general, what does that look like for you? What would you suggest?
Well, there's right around the corner from here on 79th and Woodland, there used to be a Benson's Boys Town. And then they used to have Blossom Hill and all those schools out there, all those facilities out there. When kids showed up, I had a relative who used to steal cars, and my mama went to court with the relative in the community, and the judge was saying, "Well, I'm going to release him to the parent," and the parent looked at my mother and said, "You won't feel bad about me if I just let them take him for a minute so he can get this experience. And when he comes back, he'll be able to make a choice between, do I want to keep this up and miss all that?" And see, right now, it's a bragging point to go.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They want to go.
They want to go.
I don't think that's the threat.
No, they want to go, so we have to make it uncomfortable.
And don't care.
But-
I don't care.
But and here's the other flip side.
Because they just sit. See?
Here's the flip side to it too, and it's a strong, strong, strong reality that to them it might be better.
In some cases. To avoid,
yeah.
to get away from that home parent and the environment.
And the environment, the streets, because they probably already away from the parent. That's why they're in the trouble they're in. So they done discovered, I got to get away from them. So they gone for whatever reason. But the problem they can't get away from is the street life. And they may not want to be in it, but it's safer, easier for me to just go to jail.
Now, here's another point, though. Many of us experienced an extended family. So it wasn't in my household, but I have friends whose mother or father may not have been in their life at the level they wished because either they were sick or had other issues. The extended family, the other parents on the street, oh no, you ain't gonna do that.
Well, that's what Uni was.
That's what Uni's talking about.
The communal.
The communal.
Yeah.
And see, we have to try to. And it's not gonna be large scale. We have to get at least small scale. On a small scale, get back to that so we go street by street, block by block, maybe just 3 houses at a time.
Well, it has to be small scale because it's a matter of trust. And the reason why, and that's why it has to be small scale, because anything that's big, people are going to have an issue in trusting it, and it's going to be watered down.
And it's going to be divided.
And it's going to be divided. To your point, it has to be small scales of organization or people that people in the community trust that folks will want to do that with, and that's the part that that community building
and the community, the people you're referring to, gonna have to make a decision that we're gonna have to, because nobody's riding in here to rescue us from this.
No.
Because they need our kids to be hoodlums so they can fill their facilities they invested
and justify why they do what they do.
But let me ask you a question on that, and we're gonna move on, because I want to. When we say kids who get in trouble, they go to our county facilities. They don't go to state facilities, right?
They go to the county facility unless they get bound over. But
So
they go to
does the
facility.
county make money off of kids, or does it cost us as a taxpayer to have kids and people in jail. Because people always feel that, oh, you go to jail, they just doing that to lock you up. I understand state facilities and private facilities is one totally thing. But when most of the crime that these guys, they're going downtown to the Justice Center and these kids that's going out, is that costing us money or do they make money on that?
Well, you know, the facility doesn't make money because it's tax supported. So they have a finite budget. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things the sheriff and the county executive are arguing about now is the budget, because they don't have so much money. Mm-hmm. But out of that budget, there are people who make money, the people who run the phone stuff and the food vendors. Right. They make money, but the facility costs taxpayers. It costs taxpayers to house a person.
That's correct.
So, and then it gets overcrowded. So that's the other problem with our juvenile facility. Mm-hmm. It was overbuilt in terms of relative to the employees, and underbuilt as relates to those they would have to serve.
Really?
So that's why so many cases they release children. The kids that hijacked the coach, the Ohio State coach, some of them had 16, 17 cases.
That's correct.
And were on the street because they had been released because they have really nowhere to put them. And right now you have two things that conflict. You have some kids that get in trouble, and the parents won't come pick them up because they have other kids at home. They want to protect those kids from the predator kid of their own kid. Right. And then you have this propensity to release kids to their parents, no matter how violent or crazy the situation is. Now, there's extreme cases where they'll keep them. But social workers are hollering all the time. I don't know why they send them, what we supposed to do with them. So they underbuilt facilities, and then they also closed. Dick Celeste,
that's correct.
They closed all those facilities. And I don't know what that plan was about. It's about tax money. But now you have kids that used to get services in the street. So those are some. There's so many things about this. We could never solve it in this 1 hour. No, we need to have a community meeting, and we need to have a community meeting where the excuses are not allowed. You know, we need to talk. We'll accept your reality.
Well, there you go. You know what, Unity? There you go. You should have a community meeting.
That's what you should do.
That's what you should do.
So we have had two. Our emergency community meetings. The first one took place the month before last. Last month. Okay. We had the second one the top of this month, and that is a campaign that we are currently working on, getting community back to community. We're structuring it right now. We've been told by Polisic to join an existing program or initiative or a nonprofit. We said no. This is not about I gotta think about my words. Hold on. It's not a podcast. Hold on. This is for the people, by the people of Cleveland. We plan to go ward by ward, gaining volunteers. We're gonna do a lot of yard signs, just letting people know, like, hey, I'm a neighbor that's willing to be a neighbor. And again, we are structuring it, so give us a little time, but we plan to launch it right after New Year, and I'm super excited. I hope to see you all at the next community meeting. I'll send y'all the info.
You know, that's a good one. I'm a neighbor that wants to be a neighbor. Yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you.
You know, and that's what we were just talking about. That's why I said unity, because what you say, it has to be small and it has to grow.
And that's why I keep talking about it, because that's what I'm working on, and that's where my mind is. So I'm sorry.
No, that's excellent, and we're going to always keep promoting that and keeping things going. All right, so we're going to get into the rest of the program.
Now, Ken, I got to do something before you go. See this G, everybody?
Here we go.
I got the G on.
Hey, you know what? That's fine, because I'm with that.
Cleveland, Glenville, your high school will be in Minerva, Ohio, playing Indian Valley as they are seeking their third state championship in the last 4 years.
Yes.
So get on board. There's maybe a fan bus. If not, it's an hour 20 minutes down the highway Friday. And we want to see Cleveland in the house. We had a great crowd last week. Even had a better crowd than they did from Perry. I mean, we showed up. And I want you all to show up for Ted Ginn and the Glenville Tar Blooders as they continue their search.
Mike, when you graduated from Glenville?
Man, I came out in the great year of 1967.
That brother Ben, that you called about school pride, school spirit.
That's Glenville, period.
There you go right there, man.
If they built the brick and mortar.
That's some pride for you right there, boy. He don't mess around, boy. I think that's the only school that if Dr. Morgan would have said they was putting that on that list, the whole city would have turned out. Because there's so many people from that community.
From Glenville.
Yeah, because every time I run into somebody, I lived there, even if it's for a little while. So that would have left a mark. That's for sure. We'll put it that way. Hey, so what we gonna do? DJ, just get that beam footage up. And we're going to play a video that's going to set the tone for what we're going to talk about for the last 20 minutes or so of the program. And that is the truth behind black buying power, myth, money, and systemic barriers. We're going to hit that.
Have you ever heard this quote? The black community has $1.7 trillion in black buying power. What if I told you that's not true? And there's an entire book about this. It's called The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power, Media, Race, and Economics by Dr. Jared Ball. According to Dr. Ball's research, this data is based on flawed analysis that does not account for the real economic experiences of African Americans. It comes from Nielsen, which is a company that provides research and data based on surveys. And this data is used by members of the black press and marketers in order to get corporations to spend ad dollars with them. On the flip side, this data is weaponized against black communities as a tool for making it seem like we are responsible for our own economic injustices and inequality that we face. Because we have all this economic power. Why don't we own anything? Why don't we have more? What are we wasting our money on? However, consumerism is not an indicator of individual wealth or collective wealth for the black community. The so-called black spending power does not account for the black tax that black communities face. It doesn't account for the fact that consumerism and higher costs could actually be an indicator of predatory companies and corporations. We are often paying higher in price, not because we are economically empowered, but because we're being systemically economically disempowered. The so-called black spending power also doesn't account for consumer debt. So even if we tried to pull all of that so-called $1.7 trillion in money together, it actually would not equal that amount. But I can already hear people in the comment section saying, but we spend money. We buy Jordans. We buy hair weaves. And even if we were to stop buying any of the items that come from your internalized anti-black trope, it would not make us more economically sound than we are now. Because we have faced historically systemic structural economic barriers, which has led to us having income inequality and inequitable access to wealth and limited access to assets. And again, consumer spending is not the same as economic empowerment. In fact, some of the higher spending is actually an indicator of our economic vulnerability and the predatory markets that prey on our communities. So please check out this book. And also if you want to learn more about the myth of the circulating black dollar, recently found out Black Myths Pod did an episode on this. Also check that out.
All right, there it is. We're going to talk about the myth of the black dollar. One of the things that most people talk about is the fact of what happened to the black dollar in our community and if we really spending it. One of our community's biggest thing is that people say, oh, we buy a lot of Jordans and you buy that, but are those real Jordans you buying? Or are we buying a lot of knockoffs? People saying, and that's a true thing, because when we talk about that, the marketplace of what a pair of Jordans would cost versus the marketplace of someone going to get a pair of Jordans that they can afford to buy is a totally different thing, and I think that's what she spoke to in there. Doctor, what did you get from that?
Well, it was interesting, and I haven't looked up. I need to look at this book because actually her starting with the $1.1 trillion and the myth behind that in terms of what we contribute to the economic perspective. And I think listening to her say that and understanding everything that she's saying, but it also raises the question of when we talk about the black dollar and spending, what does that equate to? And what does that look like? And in particular, what I'm thinking about is the push for this weekend and the blackout of not supporting Black Friday, specifically Amazon and other organizations, and not it being a boycott, but a blackout to show that we do have spending power as the black community. So it was interesting listening to her give that perspective that we often don't pay attention to, with the skewed narrative of what the 1 trillion actually represents, what it looks like, and that being a myth of what we spend because we don't have that type of economic stability, that type of economic power.
You say, Judge?
So I got to look into that. I haven't investigated, and I'll be honest, y'all can't send me the script, but I had a little bit going on this weekend, so
Yeah, buddy. There are a couple of things that we need. I wish I had a match and the book. That and the data that's been presented on our black spending power, so I could set it on fire right here. The fact of the matter is that we spend a lot of our income, but our median net worth is only $44,000 compared to white folks' median net worth is $235,000. So, and then the other thing I would just want to blow up is talking about how the dollar circulates in our community. Today, I was going to go to the black-owned gas station. So I can circulate that dollar. There ain't no black-owned gas station. Then I said, I'm going to go to the black-owned.
Oh, there is.
Well, it's not one in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then I said, I'm going to go to the black-owned grocery store in my neighborhood. So I can circulate that dollar. We don't have a black-owned grocery store in Cleveland. Then I said, well, I'm going to go to the black-owned shopping mall so I can circulate my dollars through the black-owned shopping mall. So I can go from store to store to store. Right. There is no such animal. Now I can go to Asia Town and circulate my dollars among the Asians, but I don't have a spot today where I can circulate my dollar. Now I usually could go down on Cedar and go to Art Seafood, the Lancers, and all those places and circulate my little dollar amongst the black restaurants. I can go to the old Carnegie Round Table we used to eat. So let's stop talking about that. Now if I was in Atlanta, there's more circulation of the black dollar because there are more black businesses in Atlanta. If I was in Prince George's County, in the DMV, I could circulate my dollar amongst some black. But then let's even move beyond that because we're talking about our spending power. Now we do have spending power. We misspend our power, misspend our money. But the fact of the matter is, there's certain luxuries that and we even talking about tennis shoes as a luxury. People have to have tennis shoes. That's part, hey.
You said luxury.
It's not
tennis
a luxury.
Shoes is not a luxury.
Tennis shoes is a necessity. It ain't no luxury. So now we don't have to buy the most expensive compared to our income, but we got to buy them.
But I think you hit a point there. I think you hit a point of also understanding. I think, and this is where we have to step in with the education of financial literacy and valuing the dollar as a community.
Right.
So when you don't have access to money and you get access, you don't understand spending power. You don't understand budgeting, because here's the thing, and I used to say this to students, especially my students who were athletes and in college on scholarships. They get excited with this whole idea, and sports programs are doing a little better than this, better now than what they used to. But they get excited. You get $2 million. Seems like a lot of money. But then when you get taxed, when you go buy mama a house, when you go buy a car, now you only got $50,000 left.
And you're in the highest tax bracket.
And you're in the highest tax bracket.
Exactly.
And so it's the concept that we spend, but we don't realize what we have coming in, and we don't balance correctly.
Now, George Fraser talks about how we can better manage our money so we can get more mileage out of it. But when you only got $44,000,
I want to go back to that.
Ain't but so much managing you can do. As I'm talking about, that's our national average.
If we go back to you think about that, $44,000 as a net worth compared to $235,000. $235,000 net worth for other folks.
$285,000.
$285,000. So almost $300,000 net worth compared to $44,000.
That's why I'm saying
the median net
the
worth.
myth of the $1 trillion is a myth. It's a true myth because, again, even when you think about the community itself, even Cleveland as a whole, the average median income for the city of Cleveland is like $28,000 a year. And that's the 297,000 people that lives in the city of Cleveland. That's the average. So when we look at, there are people that you can go through Cleveland and say, oh, I know you're making more than 28,000 and I know you're making more. But on average, most of the people there, that's what they make. And so when we get to that, when we talk about home ownership, we talk about equity, we talk about stocks, we talk about retirement, we talk about all the things that's necessary in order to build this up. African Americans, this $1 trillion that they say we have, I think it's not there. When we talk about the SNAP programs and all the other programs, the Section 8 programs and all the governmental programs that people go through and utilize, that's part of their net worth. When you ask them on their application what income you get in or whatever, they have to put down there, I'm getting this from SNAP, I'm getting this. They put that down. That's what they call net worth. And if that's not no $1 trillion, man.
But you know, I do wonder. I agree with that also. But what I do wonder is, and with the book, that's one thing, but in this calculation of the $1 trillion, what is actually being included and who's being included? Because if you think about it, and you think about, and I'm gonna give you this example. I used to always ask people, what was the percentage of black folks at Ohio State?
Got to probably be about 10%.
It was always between 3 and 10. Yep. But most people went over to 25 to 30 because what they see is the football players and the basketball players.
That's correct.
And so when you start adding in sports players to the spending power, it negates those at 28,000 and it looks those at the million range. And so that's why I'm saying where the data and the information is collected from, in terms of that number and where they're getting it from spending power. And we can say realistically that a lot of times when we think about folks that do have money within the black community, it's a misuse of the money. And I'm not saying everybody. I don't want nobody call. I don't want nobody tagging me, nothing. But there's a misuse often.
You gotta have money to misuse it.
But I'm saying statistically. So I'm saying statistically, we're looking at the level from our lands. I'm looking at the level where they collected the data from.
I understand.
And they didn't collect the data from us. They collected the data from those who were
who was going to benefit from it. And this is my point. They collected the data. And we was talking about this before they came in, Uni. We was having this discussion. Basically what I was saying was that government, who's another person who will use that as a tool, that the numbers need to be X, Y, Z, or need these numbers. The other person who will be doing it is consumer. The Nielsen ratings and people like that in consumer ratings will want you to believe that. So those are the numbers that they're using. It's not based off of what we're talking about, like you say, our lens. It's based off of the Nielsen rating, consumer ratings, and that kind of thing where they come up to want you to believe one thing to get a certain outcome for something else. Government will want you to believe that there's more black people on SNAP benefits and everything else than anyone else, but we know there's a reality to that it's not true. Nielsen ratings and corporations will make you believe that you got a big spending power of dollars to buy certain things, so therefore you have the ability to go beyond what your means to buy more because of that. And I'm
gonna play devil's advocate with that too, though.
Go ahead.
Is that looking at that, if we think about if we had the mentality that we had that type of spending power, what would we do with it?
Right. That's a good. The mentality.
We don't have the mentality. Have that type of. If we had that mentality, we would be doing what Judge Nelson is always trying to get us to do: create our own. If we really believed that we had that power, then we would have our gas stations. We would have our shopping malls. We would have all our spaces. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't, have to fight and riot so we can not have a Black Wall Street and everything else that happens.
Yeah, because we had it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like it had never existed before.
But when we talk about these averages, remember it's an average. We have some high wealth income folks. And I just talked about the DMV area, Houston, Atlanta, the top 10 cities for black folks. But even within those cities, let's take Atlanta, which is the city we're most proud of, that we use as the Mecca. There's high net worth and there's utter poverty. Within the census tract.
Yes.
You have some of you have the most millionaires, but the poverty level is off the chart.
Chart.
In Cleveland, the poverty level is off the chart, even though we know we have some high net worth individuals. So let's not talk about it in terms of the high average. Let's talk about it in terms of the reality. Right now, we're sitting in one of the poorest census tracts in the city of Cleveland, right here where we are. And when we talk about this $44,000 average, very few people in this census tract fit even in the low, in that median.
Oh, yeah.
They're well below that median. So now, here's the other issue. We talk, you go to the average Mr. Hero, and it's owned by someone from India, some other country. Now, they didn't walk in here. What they did was they came in, moved in 8, 9, 10 to a crib, accumulate, put their little dollars together, and they said, okay, we're going to get this business. And then they made that sacrifice. Now, they also got bank support after they were able to accumulate a few dollars. I remember.
I don't think they get bank support. I think they self-finance all of that.
But I'm saying they get what they need. Now, I know a guy who had one of the strongest franchises in the city. He went to his banker. He was solid. His collateral was good. They put that brother through to all kind of degrees before they denied him.
And that was for his business. They probably did the same thing for his house too.
See, so he did. He had to scramble. He was successful, but the fight was so well beyond what his white contemporaries do. Hey, bro, this is Willie Joe, and I'm just coming. I'm gonna open up this spot. But man, let's see what we can do to help you.
Well,
that's the difference between the black businessman and the white businessman.
My theory on it is that, and again, I'm going back to the crack cocaine, and I'm going a little bit before that. And the Glenville community, especially, we looked through that neighborhood. It was really ironic. My grandmother, I grew up on Kempton with my grandmother, and me and my wife ended up buying a house on Austin, a few streets over, a 2-family house. And so she came there one day, years and years later. We told her, I said, I'm working. I married Yvonne, and we bought a house. She bought a house on Austin, and we staying over there and blah, blah. She said, we used to live on Austin when we first came to Cleveland. I said, really? She said, yeah, it was several houses down from the corner on the right-hand side. She knew exactly what it was, and she said, it was a house there. She said, we lived in the attic. And it was me, your mother, and 3 others. She had 3 daughters and her husband. We lived in the attic of this place, and it was a family lived in. They had the attic. It was a family on the first floor, a family on the second floor. They had all these rooms rented out on the house. Needless to say, when she came back to Cleveland to visit, she came to the house. She swore that was the house they lived in, not knowing if she right or wrong, but she swore that's what it was. And they lived in this attic of this place. Years later, before they bought the house on Kempton. That whole area with Corey's church and all the other things in that neighborhood, all those Masonic temples and all those temples that were built with that Jewish community that lived in that neighborhood. They grew up in that neighborhood and they built that neighborhood up. And black folks worked for those Jewish folks who lived in those communities at those businesses. Jewish families got better. Their business grew. Their kids worked in their business with them. Their kids got educated and said, Dad, I ain't coming back down there to St. Clair and 105 and do your business no more. I'm going to college, and son, I want you to go do better anyway. They sent their kids. They stayed in the business long enough with the brothers and the sisters till they said, we're out of here. And what did they do, Mike? They sold the business to the brothers and the sisters. The brothers and the sisters stayed there, and now we became all business owners. Lots of businesses and lots of stuff. Years later, our kids was in that same position, working in that business, doing that stuff. And what happened? Doctor, I need you to be a doctor. You don't need to be in this old dirty cleaners with me and your mom. You should go off to college and do something well. We messed around and sent you to Spelman or anywhere in Atlanta. And what happened? You got down there and said,
And I ain't
coming back.
That's right.
And you left.
Yep.
And so what ended up happening? The black folks ended up selling the business. Now, when they sold the business, and this is where I'm trying to get to, is that I think we came through a situation just like every generation where we evolved. And we wanted our kids to do better. We didn't want our kids to be dry cleaners because dry cleaning hurts. We didn't want our kids to, some of the technology changed. You know, you used to have a TV shop. It used to be a TV. You can't do that. That stuff changed. So a lot of the business in our community changed. Stores in our community where it was black-owned stores and things of that nature, they said, oh, they sold out to the Arabs because their kids never wanted to work in those businesses.
Here's the prime example. Our legacy businesses are going out of business because the children are not interested in maintain that business. Right now, I know a couple of people who've had business came from their families, was handed down to them, and they did quite well. Their children, I am not doing that.
They don't want to do it.
And they have other things that they have other interests. But that still only speaks to one segment of our community. There's another segment that you just talked about, how you all use that attic and generate, put your resource together and then did something else. Remember, this is going to be the first generation that does worse than their parents. And and you talked about the crack epidemic, and also the lack of resources. Now we have a community that's a blank. It's like a blank canvas. We have plenty of vacant lots. We have a lot of things that could be developed. The problem is, can we get the resources? Not only the resources, but can we get the resources and the energy, creative energy from our young people to get in there and try to take advantage?
You had something you say.
So that's the key. That's another issue. How do we energize those folks to do that?
I doubt it.
Okay. All right.
So Judge, you sparked a thought in me because there is a black-owned gas station on Buckeye and Opportunity. There's a black grocery store on Miles Road. I think it's Farmer Joe's. I want to say yes, Farmer Joe's. So how mobilized do you all think as black people we are to make sure that we are spending our black dollars and going out of our way to do so with other black entities?
You have to be very intentional.
You have to be intentional.
And there's some people who's intentional, and then there's some who's just not. And a lot of it is by proximity. Again, and convenience.
That's why they call them convenience stores.
You know, we need more black-owned gas stations to be in areas. But it's not like the Arabs has a monopoly on gas stations. If you want to open up one, you can. It's going to be hard work and everything. I'm going to throw something out there that I'm going to let everybody know, because I like putting these rumors out, because, I got a friend of mine who owns a bunch of them. The average gas owner, I'm going to give this to you. The average gas station owner, after he pays his taxes and pays all his employees and everything, what would you think they make a year? I will go around. You start with you, Unicorn. What do you think the average gas station owner make a year at one of those gas stations that's doing fairly well?
$300,000.
Judge.
I'll go with Uni.
I'm going to go less, 150.
Judge was close. About 125, maybe 110. That's it. Because, again, we're in a community that doesn't spend. You want to know what? Here's another crazy myth about gas stations. You know what the average amount of dollars is spent in a gas station in the inner city when they come in to get gas?
Not going to be much.
It's about, there it is, $10. Yeah. They'll come into the gas station 5-6 times a day and spend $10, where that's why their stations look like it's so many.
WOVU LP Cleveland, a Burton Bell car station.
$10.
No.
All right, so the average cost they said for a customer that spends gas in the inner city is only $10. They said that most people come in, they'll spend $10, go do something, come back. That's guys in the neighborhood hustling, people doing stuff. Where the average cost in the suburbs or in Cleveland Heights or other, the average is about $40 because people go there and do what? They fill up. And they leave out.
Yeah.
And so it's a different dynamic of what happens in our community and how we operate in our community, and the businesses are there. And to that point, there's a thing about black folks that we know about each other that we gonna tolerate and we won't tolerate. And a lot of that is some of the stuff we don't tolerate. Some of these people who come in our country and here who does that, they have no choice. You're going to sit there and you're going to let them come in there and call you all kinds of names and spend 50 cents and going to stand in front of your store all day, ain't going to leave no matter what you do, threaten you and all of that stuff. Because you leave out there, it ain't no unemployment, it ain't nothing for you. And just like us. So they do it. And black folks, we didn't open up those businesses because we don't want to be bothered with it. We know what it means, and we know what it deals with.
Plus, it's dangerous.
That's the dangerous part. Right, exactly.
Yeah. Owning a store, a little convenience store, is dangerous for us because we take us out.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of being a small business.
Business. And so with that, I think as we evolved as a people, it just changed for us. I think we decided that, you know what, we no longer want to be a part of what's going on with this. Our kids wanted to do better. Like you say, you go to Atlanta, you go to another place that was different. We're not coming back. Your parents was rooted here. They bought their house here that they wanted to give you. They didn't want the house. That's the predatory lending thing. We talk about the business, but the predatory lending thing went the same way. People were giving away their houses. They were like, oh, what happened to these lenders? They were giving away because the people were like 80, 90 years old, still living in these houses, and the kids didn't want them. There was so many kids I knew who would call and say, hey, man, can you just buy it? I don't want it. I don't even want to come up here to say, I don't want anything. I just want to sign it and be done with it. That happened in our community.
And not realizing how it hurt our community.
And legacy building, though, because the reason why those parents and everybody bought it was to build a legacy. And I guess to some degree we could say it worked because our kids went off to become everything else.
And one of the bases behind a family building a business was to get their kids out.
Yeah.
That was it.
And it looks at what aspect of legacy you looking at.
Yeah.
So how we fixed it? Now, are we back to a point where we tell them, because to your point, there are some black businesses, but when we look at even black folks as a whole, the type of businesses that we get into, you don't have many people that's doing the type of business that we need. Everybody wants to be, in music, entertainment. You get people who want to cook. We get a lot of people who say, oh, I can cook and that, but some of the stuff you just talked about, Judge, that I don't see a lot of that anymore.
Well, let's go back to your initial question. That is about the spending power. Mm-hmm. 1.7 trillion is a lot of money for a collective group, but it's not a lot of money based on our GPS. What is it, GPA? Whatever it's called. Gross product.
Yeah.
GNP. Okay, gross national product. It's not. It just isn't.
No, listen, if we 1.7, they didn't even give us the number what everybody else was. I'm like, is it a number or what?
Now, it's a good baseline to talk about what we can do without it being, even if we're below the number. Say we're only at 1 trillion. Okay. That's just baseline. That's just baseline. We have certain Bill Gates and some other people, they're almost that by themselves.
That's correct. Oh, Elon Musk done excelled that.
Yeah. See, they're that by themselves. So when we talk about a whole nation of people, even if they were absolutely correct, it was 1.7. For a nation of people, and it's a large economy, but it would not exceed California's economy. See, so we had to look at it in the context, and I think that the marketing people have weaponized that 1.7. Yeah. And they did it to the welfare to the alleged welfare queen. They sort of take these bling bling and weaponize it.
They weaponize
the whole race.
Yeah.
See.
So we're going to get ready to wind this down. But before we get out of here, I'm going to let you guys get a chance to close this on out. And I guess the closing question I got for both of you guys is, with us knowing that, is there any real true power in that? We done watch what happened with Target and other things around the country. So the question we started out was the power of this. So I'll just give us a 60-second real quick. What do we have the power closing?
I'm not even going to take that long. The fact, our money, whatever it is, when it's concentrated and then pulled out of a venture, it impacts that venture. So we do have clout. And it's showing, if we decide today that Cleveland was going to go boycott one of the grocery chains, the grocery chain would be in trouble. Because whatever amount of money we spend, it helps their bottom line significantly. So snatch it away, and you talking about some howling, screaming, and crying.
Judge? Doctor?
Well, I'm going to be a judge next. Judge Dr. Burton. I agree. I agree with Judge, is that when we're concentrated, when we do it as a community, we can make an impact. But it goes back to the question Uni asked earlier. It's intentionality. And so if we're not intentional about where we're spending our dollars, then it's not going to have an impact. We really have to be intentional about where we're spending our money.
If I get a second, the other day I put on my Facebook page I needed some underwear. Y'all, and a lot of y'all responded. I said, since we boycotting Target, y'all got to tell me where I can go get these little 3-packs now. So a lot of people responded. They say, go to Myers, go here, go there. So I went to Myers and found a 6-pack of underwear. But the fact is, because
Judge,
there was a boycott.
Even need no damn underwear.
But there was a boycott. The boycott of Target is effective.
Yeah.
No, it was very effective.
And it had an impact. And when we think about that, is that it may not, we may not be able to see it because we live in our bubble of what our income is. But when we think about the collectiveness of what happens when we come together, and that's what we're trying to do, is a collectiveness.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard it there. This is Strategic Moves Radio Show. Dr. Heather Burton and Judge Michael Nelson. We're all here today, and we'll be seeing you next Tuesday. Peace.
Peace.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. For What's on Your Mind Tuesdays, call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM.